Hello and welcome back. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving weekend and everything. We just ended with Week 12 of the NFL. I actually don't. I'm assuming Week 13 for college. I think because they're a week ahead. They just finished, so their regular season's over. So going into this upcoming week, we'll have Week 13 NFL action with just 5 more weeks left, which is crazy to think about already. That the NFL season's already 12 weeks through, and for college, we already have championship games that'll be happening. So these were all the games that happened over the week, with Colts Steelers happening Monday night as well. And yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. Just to give a little bit of a different change, I'm just going to show this for now. This is what the playoff matchups would look like if they ended today. And then after going over all the game recaps, I'll go down and then show what the people in the hunt look like. To start out the Thanksgiving slate, we had the Bills playing the Lions, and that was honestly a pretty exciting game to start out the day. I mean, the Lions were way more competitive than anyone thought. And I mean, the Bills just kind of looked like meh to begin with. I just remember Diggs didn't do much of anything and then ended up exploding in the second half. But I mean, it was just, I don't remember too much from the game, honestly, other than it was really, really close, obviously, and then the Bills basically escaped with the win. I mean, their offense still looks a little bit scary. Josh Allen, obviously, you can tell he's a little hurt. I mean, he's still running hard and everything, but with the team and all, they haven't been playing the best that they have been, and now because of that, I mean, I say that, and they're still, I think, 8-3, 7-4 at worst. And now basically, just because of how good the Dolphins are playing, though, in their division, how the West of their division are, they can't afford to lose a step. So hopefully Josh Allen can continue to be okay and he can keep playing through this injury. And for them, I mean, for the Lions, it was a really impressive game yet again. I mean, it's just been a disappointing season overall for these Lions. I mean, the 2-minute drills have been killing them. And it's just, all these close games, they just can't seem to pull them out. So the next game matchup was Giants-Cowboys. I mean, the score is 20-20, but it really wasn't that close. The Giants got a garbage touchdown and with in the 2-minute drill basically to end it. And it's just Cowboys pretty much dominated them on the defensive side. I mean, they just held the offense to basically doing nothing all day. And for the Giants, they just couldn't get enough stops against that Cowboys offense. And a lot of people were saying that was the game for Odell. They were playing to see who's going to get Odell. So it's going to be interesting to see where Odell signs. It was rumored that he visited Buffalo too. It's just that's a very interesting situation going on right now. And yeah, with these two teams, I mean, the Giants, I mean, they've been sliding a little bit. I mean, they're still 7-4, but they're definitely one of the more questionable 7-4 teams. They could really use some of the wide receiver help. And then for the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb had an amazing game. He had some awesome catches during the game. And there was one that didn't count a catch that was really, really close to. That was really awesome. I mean, the Cowboys are just playing really, really impressive. If the Eagles, that whole division, honestly, has been playing really good because the Commanders, which we'll talk about here soon, they're on a winning streak and doing well. It was overall a really good win by the Cowboys. And, I mean, the Giants really sucks. That was the game they had to have. And now it's it's going to be interesting to see where their season goes because as you can see from the NFC, I mean, all the wild card spots are filled up with the NFC East. So the Giants, hopefully, they just got to keep playing tough and winning out if they hope to get a good playoff spot. The night game that actually ended up being, I think, the best action offensively out of all the games was the Patriots-Vikings. I mean, Mac Jones was out there slinging it. He looked really awesome. Justin Jefferson is really good as always. Kirk Cousins had a pretty good game as well. I think he threw for over 300 yards, and the Vikings win 33-26. I mean, this Viking team, they're legit now, and I mean, with the Packers lost on Sunday, they are for sure. I think they basically are going to win the division. There's no way they would have to lose every single game the next 5 weeks, and there's just no way. So I mean, the division is all but theirs. I mean, T.J. Hawkinson also scored for the Vikings, I remember, which is his first touchdown with them. And yeah, I just mean, really awesome win for the Vikings. T.J. Hawkinson piece is looking like he can be pretty lethal. The Vikings just another weapon. So going into the night, going into the end of the game, basically, I mean, awesome win for Vikings. It was really close basically the whole way. They were able to pull it out. For the Patriots, the loss kind of stinks for them because now I believe they dropped out of the wild card now after last week. The Bengals with the win hop in. So now, I mean, they do have a tiebreaker over the Jets, the Patriots do, but coming down to the tiebreakers, that's just really scary for them. And I mean, that was a game they definitely needed more than the Vikings did, but the Vikings were the better team. They won. Really good win for the Vikings. Now it basically looks like they locked up their division while the Patriots might be fighting with their fellow division mates to get a playoff spot. I'll just go in order based on I have these on my phone. So I'll skip to a 4 o'clock game real quick because it's really exciting and I want to talk about this. Josh Jacobs ran all over the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks also don't have a pass rush all of a sudden. They were just getting no pressure on Derek Carr. He was basically just sitting back there being able to throw it wherever he wanted to, having not to worry about anything. He took one scary hit and was out for a bit, but he came back. I mean, the story of this game was Josh Jacobs. I mean, this game went to overtime. The Raiders won 40-34. But, I mean, Josh Jacobs ran all over the Seahawks. I think he had over 200 yards on the ground, if I remember correctly. Josh Jacobs had 33 carries for 229 yards and 3 touchdowns, and that's not even counting the receiving he added in too. I mean, they need to pay that man. I mean, he is now I think in fantasy he's the number 1 running back, and I mean, he's really, really awesome. He's been playing really awesome for that team. He's been one of the few bright spots for that team. And, yeah, I definitely think he's earned his contract this year. I mean, he just ran all over the Seahawks, and he's just been there's so many games this year that he's been taking over. As for the Seahawks, I mean, that loss kind of stinks. I think that bounces them out of the playoffs right now. And with their division, because of the 49ers, they are now in jeopardy of potentially losing. So they're going to have to start winning out and doing a little bit better themselves. This game I'll just go over quickly, Chiefs-Rams. I mean, Mahomes is still pretty good at football. Kelsey got in the end zone. And the Rams just stink at football. I mean, the Chiefs tried to give away that game. I felt like they should have maybe scored a bit more. But, I mean, I think Mahomes had a bad interception or two. I know for sure one. I can't remember if it was 2 or not. And just overall, the Rams are there's not much to talk about. The Rams are just putrid. The Chiefs handled business and won. And they're the 1 seed now and look like they are the wagon of the AFC. But, man, the Rams are definitely playing the Pies for the Super Bowl. They're a shell of themselves. I mean, half their roster doesn't seem to be there. Now there's questions about Matthew Stafford coming back to even play football anymore. They're sounding like he might retire because, I mean, he was I think he was number 1 overall pick in 2009. So, I mean, he already has a bag. His life's made, basically. And it's just a matter of will he continue to play football or not. I mean, he had 2 scary concussions this year. And, I mean, poor Rams. They just are awful. Speaking of awful teams, I mean, the Panthers trounce the Broncos. Sam Darnold rolls in for a touchdown. He also throws one to DJ Moore. A defensive lineman for the Broncos yells at Russell Wilson before they get on the field, and Russell Wilson was just saying that the lineman was telling him that the offense just needs to step it up. And I just mean, what an awful train wreck season for the Broncos. They gave the Seahawks a top, I think, it might be 3. I don't think it is 3, but top 5, top 10 picks going to Seattle because the Broncos are playing so bad because it's Russell Wilson trade. And I just mean, Russell Wilson just looks lost. There's people who are open, and I mean, even if they aren't open, like it's NFL, he can at least give his receivers a chance. I mean, Cortland Sutton's really good, big frame. Greg Dulcich has been playing really well, and I just mean, for whatever reason, it's just not working. And it's really sad to see, honestly. I mean, he just looks like a complete shell of himself. I'm to the point, I almost kind of feel just bad for him at this point. It's like, man, he just looks awful, and I don't know if it's the head coach. I don't know what's going on, but that team's a train wreck. They need to figure it out. And for the Panthers, I tried to write them off, but I mean, they're right back in the playoff picture with the Bucs looking so bad as well. I mean, and you know what? I'll just bounce that game right here. The Bucs losing overtime to the Browns. I mean, it felt like that game was 17-10 for ages, and just Brady couldn't put them away. All of a sudden, David Njoku has an insane catch at the back of the end zone. That might be one of the catches of the year. I mean, the Justin Jefferson catch was awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, this catch in the back of the end zone was a one-hand snag since overtime. Nick Chubb rushes in the touchdown in overtime to win. I mean, it's just, this Bucs team, it just continues to just get sour and sour. Thankfully, they're in NFC South where their division can't win for some whatever reason, because I'll get into that in a second with the next game I'm going to bring up. But, I mean, yeah, that was a weird game for the Bucs. I mean, it felt like they should have won that game. They just abandoned the run. It felt like when they should have been running the ball way more. I don't know what's going on with the Bucs this season. And then speaking of that, I mean, the Falcons, they lost to the Commanders. The Commanders had an awesome, I mean, I don't know what to call it. I mean, they just played weak. I mean, it was just a weird game, honestly. It looked like it might be high scoring in the beginning, and then just kind of stalled out for a little bit, and then the Commanders' defense stood tall in the 2-minute drill. And then the Commanders get a first down. I mean, look at that. They're 7-5. They won 6 of the last 7, I think. I mean, it's insane. This team's just flipped on a heel with everything, with all the chaos and everything that's going on behind the scenes. And in the front office, and I mean, all this stuff that's going on. This team just continues to play hard. They continue to play well. They play really hard for Heineke. McLaurin had a kind of slower day. I think he had like 4 for 48 or something. But I mean, Heineke missed a few throws as well. But I mean, they keep winning. They keep proving that they're a really good team, and now they get a playoff spot for it as of right now. Quickly, I mean, the Dolphins just trounced the Texans. I mean, it was 30-0 at half. They could have dropped 100 on them. I mean, Tua sat. And after he sat, and then when a lot of the second stringers were in, then the Texans put up 15 to make it 30-15. But I mean, the Dolphins are really, really good. They're going to be an interesting team to watch going forward. They are a lot of fun. Tua played really well. He had a scary hit where it looked like he might get hurt, but I mean, he just walked right back up. He popped right back up. He spiked the ball like nothing happened. Walked off the field. He was perfectly fine. And then, yeah, like I said, he sat a lot the second half. I mean, he had almost 300 yards in a day, 1 touchdown. The defense had a touchdown. Defense also got him down inside the red zone at one point. I mean, Dolphins just absolutely destroyed the Texans. Texans are one of the worst football teams in recent memory, it feels like. I mean, I think I can't remember. It's Allen. I can't remember his first name. For Texans, but I mean, he played awful. He's not any better than Davis Mills at this point. And yeah, that Texans team is something bad. One of the awesome 1 o'clock games, the Bengals-Titans. This went back and forth for a bit. Joe Burrow looks like he has some swagger back. I mean, T. Higgins played good as well. He had, I think, like 9 catches for 100-some yards and a touchdown. But Joe Burrow just leading them down the field, putting good drives together. And this game basically ended with, I believe, it wasn't on the punter, but the Titans ran into the snapper on the field goal unit. It's either that or the punt, or they ran into the snapper on the punting unit. Either way, they ran into the guy who was snapping it, drew a penalty that gave the Bengals the first down and won the game, and the look on Vrabel's face says it all. I mean, they're usually a really disciplined team that would, not make the mistakes like that, and they'd be winning because of those mistakes from other teams. But overall, it was just a really awesome game. Jamar Chase is going to be coming back soon for the Bengals. That'll be fun to see. Tennessee potentially is going to have they got Derrick Henry stuffed all game, but I think they're potentially getting a guy back here and there as well, so they might look a little bit better. But the playoffs ended today. This team's rematch, and I mean, there's some rivalry feuding there. It's pretty awesome. One of the linemen for the linemen for the Bengals was running off the field, basically saying "F Tennessee," doing up yours Tennessee, all that. I mean, it was really awesome. You can tell that something's brewing there, and it was just a really good competitive game. And it was probably one of the best 1 o'clock window games. And then I'm going to go over this game quickly just because, action-wise, it wasn't very impressive. But Trevor Lawrence had his coming-out game. I mean, Ravens kicked field goals basically all day. We're up 10 at double digits at one point. And then the Jaguars just lingered around. Then the last drive, Trevor Lawrence puts together an absolutely amazing drive. Honestly, I bet against the Jaguars here. So, I mean, Trevor Lawrence just actually absolutely impressed me. I mean, he marched down the field. He looked really confident. He looked like that next Peyton Manning, that next Andrew Luck, whatever they were saying. He looked like that next all-star quarterback. He marched him right down the field, scored a touchdown. Then with confidence, they go for 2 for the win. And this game and the next game, we had 2 games, both went for 2 for the win. And, I mean, it was just awesome. You love the ballsy call. And for the Jaguars, it's just an awesome, impressive win. Getting wins like that are huge because usually they've been blowing a lot of double-digits leads. I mean, the season's probably lost for them, but going forward, that's a huge confidence booster. And then speaking of going for 2 for the win, Cardinals, Chargers, I mean, Cardinals were leading a lot of the game. Chargers looked like they just didn't want to win the game. And then last drive, they just went down the field. They had a decent field position to start, and Austin Eckler got the touchdown. They want to go for 2 as well. They go for 2, and they win it. And this Cardinals team is just imploding. There was a joke that I heard that basically the LA Chargers were playing the LA Chargers yesterday because, I mean, both these teams have very similar issues with they don't want to win games sometimes. They just choke games away when they shouldn't. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, we'll see how long he stays with the Cardinals. Ian Rappaport yesterday on the Pat McAfee show said that usually after they just extend somebody, they don't let him go. But just with how bad this team is, the blame has to go on someone. They just paid Kyler, and they paid him more than Cliff Kingsbury. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But, I mean, just regardless, it was really impressive win by the Chargers, and a really much needed win because I think they're only a game back of the hunt for the playoffs, but if they would have lost, that would have been really devastating for that. And for the Cardinals, I mean, with another loss, their season's basically, I think, all but over. It's just going to be interesting to see if they can scavenge together some wins and maybe like make it to a playoff spot. Brush over this game quickly. I mean, the 49ers shut out the Saints. Saints, I don't know why they're still playing Andy Dalton. I mean, at this point, I don't know why they don't just put Jameis Winston in. I mean, Andy Dalton won one big game where they shut out somebody, and I mean, just since then, he hasn't been playing the best. And now they get shut out by the 49ers. You would think that this shutout now would mean it'd be time to switch, but we'll see. Their offense is just awful. And for the 49ers, only scoring 13. They probably should have scored a little bit more, but they get a shutout win regardless. I mean, hey, a win's a win. Elijah Mitchell is going to miss 6 to 8 weeks with an injury. That's not good. McCaffrey's dealing with some knee soreness. So that's not good for them running back-wise. But thankfully, I think they have like Jordan Mason and then somebody else who are also really good running backs. So hopefully they can pick up the load for them. The Sunday night game was the Packers-Eagles. This was awesome night game. We've been needing a game like this. Kenneth Gainwell got the action started for the Eagles. And then the Eagles, I can't remember who scored next. Kenneth Gainwell got the action started. And then there was an interception, which led to Miles Sanders getting a touchdown. Then the Packers go right back down. A.J. Dillon, Randall Cobb touchdown. And that was all in the first quarter. I mean, this was an awesome night game to just watch. Miles Sanders, second quarter, gets a rushing touchdown again. Aaron Jones gets a receiving touchdown. Devontae Smith. Quez Watkins gets another receiving touchdown. So, I mean, it's just boom, 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 touchdowns everywhere. Third quarter slows down a bit. A.J. Brown gets a touchdown pass or reception. And then Aaron Rodgers ends up getting hurt, so Christian Watson gets a long touchdown in the fourth quarter from Jordan Love, and that's basically the end of it. Eagles, that was an awesome win. They put together drives whenever they needed to. I think more of the storylines for this game come for the Packers. I mean, first off, they stopped the Eagles on their QB sneak, which is really, really hard to stop this year, so that might be something teams look into. Second, Rodgers injured I think it's oblique or ribs. I forget which one it was. It's something with his abdomen, like midsection, where like it hurts. Hurt really bad. He had to come out of the game. He's questionable to play for the rest of for next week. Matt LaFleur said if he can play, he's going to go. But there's people saying that they should switch to Jordan Love for this season, that Aaron Rodgers might never play in a Packers uniform again. I mean, it is just a wild, wild time. So we're going to have to watch that situation for sure to see what is going on with Aaron Rodgers. Because now with the thumb he said looked a little bit better last night. I mean, he's been doing stuff all year. So that's just going to be a situation to keep an eye on for the Packers, see what's going to happen moving forward. But, I mean, their season's all but over. They went out and some teams lose. They can make the playoffs, but, like, I don't think the teams are going to lose. I mean, you see 7 wins just to get in the playoffs right now, and they got 4. And there's about 5 to 6 weeks left. So, I mean, do the math. They're pretty much eliminated. Not mathematically, but the fat lady's not singing yet for them. But, I mean, she's pretty much humming up, doing the warm-up notes. And then for the Monday night game of Steelers-Colts, really sad game for the Colts. I mean, they were just pathetic in the first quarter. Had basically 5 plays, I think, had the ball for 2 minutes, got 0 yards. Steelers go up 13-0. Najee Harris scored early, and then it was a lot of field goals. Then Colts stormed back with Jonathan Taylor touchdown, Michael Pittman touchdown. And then, they would end up taking the lead 17-14 or 17-16. Benny Snell scored a late touchdown for the Steelers to get the 2-point, and then that would basically be the game. All they did was basically, kill the Colts season, probably. I mean, they got 4 wins and 7 wins to get in the playoffs. They're a very similar situation as the Packers, where I don't know how realistic it is for them to get in the playoffs. For Steelers, they have 4 wins now, too. Don't know what they're like. So those are 2 teams. They're basically playing for next year almost. For Colts, if they win that game, their playoff hopes are alive, so they had a lot more to play for, and the team's just bad this year. There's not much to say. I mean, They just need to pass the ball down the field more, too. I mean, announcers all night were just saying, give it to Jonathan Taylor, and they need to throw deep shots to, open up the defense, and they just didn't do either. So hopefully, going into next year, Colts look a little bit better. But, yeah, we'll see. Good one for the Steelers, regardless. So that goes over basically all the games for the week. As you can see, during the whole talk, there was a playoff picture. So that's what the matchups look like. Those are a lot of good matchups. Should be a lot of fun matchups for the playoffs. And then if you look at the AFC, this is what it looks like. And we got some good matchups going in the next week for the teams. You see Kansas City takes on Bengals. Miami take on the 49ers. Tennessee takes on the Eagles. Buffalo takes on New England. The Jets take on Minnesota. I mean, we got a lot of good games next week. There's been some mass slates these past few weeks. This upcoming slate's a really, really good one. Then, yeah, you can see just out. New England's a game out. Chargers are a game out. And Colts are like 2 games out. So, I mean, and then Jacksonville, you see all the 4-win teams. I'm not going to go over them. They're all probably out of the playoffs. But the Chargers and New England have some real potential right there for the AFC side of things. When it comes to NFC, you can see some of the matchups as well. Tampa Bay goes to New Orleans. That'll be a good matchup just to the rivalry things. Giants go to Washington. That's a good seeding battle. And, you can see Atlanta's right out of the playoffs. Seattle's right out of the playoffs. And then Detroit begins with 4-win teams and so down. But overall, when it comes to the NFL, next week should be a really good slate. There's a lot of fun, exciting games. When it comes to the playoffs, like I said, we're 6 weeks away. And the AFC, I think you can start to lock up the Chiefs. Their division should be a lock. And you can, I would say, basically Tennessee has their division as a lock too. So Chiefs and Tennessee, those should be your 2 locks for playoffs, I want to say. And then on this side of things, the Philadelphia, I can't say they're a lock yet for their division because of how close it might be, but they should be a playoff. I would almost say they're a playoff lock. And then for Minnesota, they're for sure a playoff lock, just based solely on the fact that their division's butt cheeks this year. So yeah, that basically goes over the NFL. A lot of fun games, a lot of exciting matchups. When it comes to the college ball for Week 13, there is a lot of good games. So yeah, I'm going to go through these quick just so I can get to the big championship game matchups. As you can see, NC State upsets North Carolina. They still play in their championships. It doesn't really matter. Tulane, I think for the first time ever, is going to host a conference championship game. Really awesome for them. Their first AP ranked win since 1984. Ole Miss loses to Mississippi State. Don't really know what that does, to be honest. Texas beats Baylor, which would have done something if Kansas State would have lost, but they won, so they move on. And UCLA wins. Florida State wins. Michigan beats the hell out of Ohio State, so they are going to go to the Big Ten Championship. And, the Ohio State team is getting loud about Ryan Day right now. Georgia Tech wins. They move on. Alabama wins, which is much needed. Clemson gets upset, so now they're out of the college playoffs for sure, so they'll be a bowl game team. Awesome win for South Carolina. Louisville lost to Kentucky. That doesn't do, I don't think, too much bowl game-wise. USC, Caleb Williams probably had his Heisman moment, had a really awesome game, and they beat Notre Dame, and he had really awesome games. LSU, they lose to Texas A&M, so now their playoff hopes are done, and they're a bowl team. And they just basically didn't show up. UCF wins. Utah blows out Colorado. TCU, big win to where they're to the point now. If they lose, I think even if they lose to Kansas State, potentially, they might still be in, but we'll have to see. And before I get into these, I just want to talk about the Oregon State-Oregon game. Oregon was up, I think, 31-10. Game should have been completely over, but then Oregon, doing what they do, they completely, absolutely blew the game. They didn't run the ball. They just played the spread with their spread offense, and they kind of didn't kill the clock. Oregon State came back to win 38-31 or 34-31, whatever it was, without completing a pass basically. They had 6 completions all game, and they ended up winning, just running all over them. So it was a really awesome comeback by them. And that Oregon, I think, had a chance to go to the championship game, or I think it was the Pac-12 championship game with that. Now they don't, and that basically screws up a lot. And then for Iowa, that's the game I also need to bring up. Iowa, winning their Big Ten championship game, absolutely basically pooped their pants against Nebraska, I believe it was. And Nebraska, with that upset, gave Purdue a chance where if they beat IU, they're in. Purdue beats IU. So now that sets up their matchup. So going into Friday, this upcoming week, we'll have Utah, USC at 8, and then North Texas, UTSA. Obviously, obviously these matter for conference because you want to see, the UTSA, North Texas, that was a match. But the big game, obviously, is USC-Utah, because if USC wins, I believe, because they are 4 now, that they basically will have a college football playoff spot guaranteed if they win. So this is a very big game for them. This is a must-win game if they want to get in for Utah. This is a really awesome game potential where they could ruin USC's playoff hopes, have a big win going into a bowl game. So that's really fun. You want to see. Start us off at noon. We have Ohio and Toledo for the MACtion. But the big game, TCU, Kansas State. Personally, I've been biased to TCU all year. I've bet them every single game. I've won money on them every single game. But last time they played this Kansas State team, they took a big comeback to win. I think his name's Will Howard. for Kansas State. Him being healthy the whole game, that's going to be interesting to see if that, what that does for Kansas State. But TCU, the way they've been playing, I mean, they win. They're into the college football playoffs. This is a team that potentially, I mean, they could play. I think if Michigan wins, there's no way they win. And if Georgia wins, there's no way they win. So this potentially could be, if TCU wins, they could potentially play Michigan. And I think out of all the playoff teams, that's potentially, other than Ohio State at the time, that might be the best matchup for them. So I'm really excited for that Kansas State TCU game. That's going to be an awesome game to start off the Saturday. Coastal Carolina takes on Troy for the Sun Belt. And with that game having bowl game implications. Coastal Carolina just got destroyed last game. I know they didn't play some guys, but yeah, I mean, that's going to be interesting to see who can win that game. Troy's been pretty good all year, too. UCF and Tulane play. That'd be awesome for Tulane to win because, like I said, it's the first championship host all year. Or not even all year, excuse me. It's the first championship host ever in their program, so that's a really fun and big game for them. Fresno State, Boise State, that's going to be interesting. I really don't know. Boise State's been really impressive down the stretch, but I don't know who's going to win that game. LSU, Georgia. I mean, LSU could have made, there could have been so much going into this game for playoff hope-wise if they could have potentially won last week, but they lose last week, so basically coming in, they can just upset Georgia if they win, but we'll see if they do that. Jackson State versus Southern for the SWAC. And to be out for the SWAC championship, I don't know much about either of those two teams, to be honest, so I don't really know what to expect coming that one. Clemson, North Carolina. That's a big loss by Clemson, and the fact that they lost to South Carolina makes me think that North Carolina will be able to hang around. We're going to have to see, though. I mean, North Carolina didn't play too impressive last week. But if they play like they can play, I mean, that's a potential game winner. And the fun game of the night, Purdue versus Michigan. I don't know if it's just because, I'm close to Purdue or what, but I just feel like that's a game Michigan can lose. I don't think they should lose that game. Obviously, I don't think they should. They are a really good football team, but the way they beat Ohio State and to beat them that bad, I mean, they could be riding into a high. Purdue has no business hanging in there. I think they know that. A lot of people know that. So they have to come in and handle business because they let Purdue linger. I mean, Purdue has been made a living on being the spoiler makers, and them beating Michigan would completely... I almost want to see them win just because I would love to see the chaos if they lost. How much that would change the college football playoffs. Yeah, if you look, this is a really big weekend for college football. I mean, there's playoff implications on the line. And, I mean, it's going to be a really fun week. This is honestly a really fun weekend of football. We got amazing NFL action. And, yeah, we're going to potentially have some really awesome college action as well.